From the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery in Nashville, Tennessee, it's Gardening Inside Out, a podcast with highlights from our Saturday morning live show, answering all your gardening questions, giving you plant advice for any space in your life. Let's start the show.
Hey, y'all. Caroline Gant.
Hey, y'all. Austin Lowen.
And Tyler Blankenship.
We're back.
We're back. We're here.
You're
back.
I'm back.
He's back.
Florida. Again.
I didn't... Y'all, yeah, I went to Florida twice, okay? Give me a break. The first time was for a fishing trip. Just for 2 days.
I think we're going to lose you to Florida soon.
Maybe.
Just a little bit of fun and then a lot of bit of fun.
Oh, man. Full week down there.
Was it amazing?
It was nice. We had good weather. I'll give you that. It only rained like one morning. Other than that, just picture perfect weather. It's very nice, yes. But I'm glad to be back in the swamps of Tennessee. Feels like that.
Swampy here.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But hey, we're getting a little rain right now outside of the studio. Things are good. It's still lush here. Y'all, Middle Tennessee, the trees, the greenery, everything's still very lush here. We take it for granted. You go down to Florida and you see different down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you see?
Yeah, what did you see?
Crusty gators?
I didn't see any gators. I
No?
needed one. No, because I really wanted to wrestle one, but didn't happen.
Oh,
this
man.
time, I know.
Next time, you'll get out there on that jet ski. See that gator. Start wrestling.
I'll ride a jet ski with an alligator. Just let him ride
I'd
with me.
like to see that.
Me too.
One
Anyway,
day.
plant life, I
When
saw
you
a
go
lot of
back next
pines.
month.
I'm not going back. That's it. Okay? If I go back to Florida, I'll probably stay.
I won't ever come back. But you saw some plants. Pines. You saw some ferns.
Yes.
the tree.
I did. In the trees. Great call. Yes, there were some beautiful southern live oaks down there where we were staying. I mean, twisty, turny, gnarly, awesome, big old trees. And y'all, just covered with ferns. Tiny ferns, a whole nother ecosystem
What
on
kind of
this
ferns
tree.
were they?
Oh, Lord, I don't know. I didn't...
They were little bitty.
Little bitty ferns, and millions of them. But like I said, there were lizards all in them, bugs all in them.
Oh, I want to go to there.
Such a cool little microclimate on those trees. It was epic.
There's something about the trees in Florida. They're gnarly.
Some of the live oaks especially.
Yeah.
Old state tree of Georgia.
Ancient. Tyler's looking at us real funny like.
I know. What's up, Tom?
I'm just watching you because looking at your faces. In Pensacola nearby, there is a naval reserve of oaks for shipbuilding, and it's still maintained.
Really?
Yep.
That's
It's
cool.
you can walk around it actually. It's like Naval Oaks Preserve. And it is just really cool. Nice little trail by the bay.
Nice.
Little Florida nugget there for you.
Next time you go to Florida, next week, you should go.
My gosh.
I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
So what I missed? What y'all been doing? What's up with your houses, your plants?
Well,
stuff?
I planted trees yesterday. And I
Trees
know
in the
we
summer.
tell people all the time it's the worst time to plant, and I know that. But listen, I have all these trees that I haven't planted, and I am tired of watering them in pots. And I know I'm still going to need to water them in ground. But I had an ornamental cherry tree that I think I've had a year and a half. Put that in the ground. My Christmas tree, my Carl Fuchs little cedar.
Nice.
That's in the ground. Planted a viburnum. So I'll let you guys know how those take. The cherry tree was looking pretty sad.
I bet. I remember when you got that last year. And that was just in a little 5-gallon, wasn't it?
Yes. I was going to say 3. Might have been a 3-gallon. Did we
It was
sell them?
tiny. I remember that. It was
little.
kind of a big tree for a small pot. I remember it was cheap.
And I have almost killed it quite a few times.
Ah,
But now it's in the ground. It's in my front yard. It's going to be gorgeous.
it's gonna be good.
Hopefully nobody mows it down. It's too big for that.
Yeah.
That's about it.
This week saw the removal of the fruit cocktail tree.
Oh,
Did you burn it?
I didn't know it's by the street for the debris pickup.
it's just debris now.
Debris.
Dead
Detritus.
Debris.
Yeah.
Dead brie.
It's really sad, and especially it just looked like kind of unnatural the way it died. Like the leaves are like brown, orange brown. Like I got sick and died brown. It's just really weird. And my chainsaw is probably not sharp, so it took forever to like cut the stump, and I still have to think about the stump, like removing that, because I mean I don't think I'm going to plant another fruit tree in my yard unless I have more land.
Yeah. They just take so much here, you know?
They do. They take a lot.
Well, it was producing plums really easily, and like I didn't really mind that very much. The peach too, they're messy. You know, if they drop a lot of fruit down, then you've got plants underneath that. You gotta keep up after it. The thing that really is driving me crazy right now is that around that area, and also in where I planted all these lovely wildflowers, or Sarah did rather, there's a bunch of crabgrass.
Oh,
It's like we couldn't get to it before it got mature, and now it's like a tangle. And so I'm like, what do I do? And I'm just gonna have to like mow it, clear cut it, or something. Like I want to dig it out. I don't want it to
It's awful.
Crabgrass is the worst.
Yeah.
I have it everywhere.
I pulled hundreds of
It's
them.
giant. I have some that are like huge.
Yeah. It's no joke. I came home to that too.
Oh yeah. How does all your stuff look after getting home?
You know, one of my, if you're a gardener, you know this. One of the best things about leaving for vacation is coming home and seeing your plants swell. And boy, have they.
Unless they're all dead.
Unless they're all dead. Yeah. No, I did have my mother-in-law. Thank you very much for coming over and helping water my plants. And yeah, she did a good job. Everything is the mixed containers out front. Y'all.
You got to get a photo.
I'm getting one.
The
I'll get you
listeners
one
right now
tonight.
are probably like, I need to see that.
It's really swelled out a little bit past the edges of the pots now. And I start small, I'm cheap.
You do. You're a
So-
cheap man.
They are really swelling. It's really great to come home to the garden as well, the veggie garden, because it's really swelled itself. And that was planted so late this year, later than I've ever planted it. So that's fun.
What do your cucumbers look like?
They look very good. I'm sorry yours don't.
It's my favorite thing to grow, and mine are just bad.
Been a lot of that this year with cucumbers specifically, yeah.
My squash did great, but
Squash bug.
they finally appeared. And a ton of them. So many, so I ripped them all out.
I saw my first Japanese beetle yesterday land on me. It just landed on me. I was mowing.
And he just
minding
said,
my
hey,
own.
we're here. We're about to eat your stuff. We're coming for that hibiscus.
You ain't lying.
I have heard, y'all, online that if you make a spray out of blackstrap molasses, it can deter Japanese beetles.
Sounds sticky.
I have not tried it for myself, so, those claims are undocumented and unprotected right now.
So you need to try it. Or one of our listeners.
How do you make it? I mean, gosh, that'd be the stickiest substance on it. Like, you'd have to dilute that so far, right?
I think that's the idea, I mean, it is like a sugar, so it can probably be dissolved in water pretty well.
Huh.
Hot water, I'm assuming.
All right, try it, Tyler.
Do it, Tyler.
All right, I have to see if I can find any. It's kind of hard to find blackstrap molasses.
I've never even heard of
Oh,
that.
I bet if you go to Turnip
Probably
Truck
find
or
some
something,
online.
you'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any monarch butterflies? Bridget, who works in our perennial, she's our grass girl here, and also the best. We were talking yesterday. No monarchs. I haven't seen any.
Yeah.
It's a good point. I haven't really seen it either.
And all of my butterfly weed, none of it got munched on.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. I've observed that this year. I've had lots of orange milkweed this year come in and nothing. But I usually start seeing them around August, September, October.
It might still be a little bit early.
Yeah. I have seen them earlier in the year before. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's like a generational thing. Like if there's some that come by in spring and then some from the other part of the generation that come by later in the year. But I've seen them more later in the year than earlier.
Yeah.
So maybe they're still coming. We were just both concerned, so I wanted to see what you guys thought.
He'll be here.
I hope.
I'm counting on him.
On the flippy side, yesterday I was kayaking and I saw some native button bush in full bloom, full size, which is probably like 4 to 5 feet tall, with a bunch of butterflies swarming over those little balls.
Yes. Nice.
And I mean, every single button bush that I encountered along the riverbank had butterflies on them. So if that's one thing that you want to plant to draw butterflies, definitely plant that. Also, really great for erosion control because it's growing right on the bank.
I was about to say, yeah, if you want a native option for pollinators and something that can live in water, literally, button bush is for you.
Yeah.
And the structure of the plant, I ain't mad at it.
It's not horrible.
It was
They're so
lumpy with those
cute.
cute little,
I love them. I don't have any. Maybe I should get some because it would pair well with something that I have blooming right now. That's a moist, loving thing. My jewelweed is in full bloom, and I love that plant. Cute little native, attracts hummingbirds and pollinators.
You You attacked.
I attacked
You said
so many plants.
You mentioned that on your wildflower gardening webinar, did you not?
I did. I did.
That's
but mine is
worth
in
a
full
watch.
bloom right now. It is a good webinar that I enjoyed doing very much.
Good.
But I feel like jewelweed and buttonbush would pair really well together. So I should probably get some to put down by my creek where all the jewelweed is.
Yeah. Buttonbush. It's a little big.
You said.
It can.
That's
I toured a garden one time. A woman that had, she's a very, very good gardener. She shops out here with us. She probably had one. She had tree formed it. Okay, so she kept it.
Cool.
She took it to one limb. Maybe it was 3. It may have been like 3 main canes she kept, and then let those get up to about 3 foot, and then it went to like its tree form, and it literally was about 7-8 foot tall. But she had it for, I think she told me, over 20 years. So, but yeah, the tree form, it looked pretty sweet. Not bad.
So you said it was limbed up at the bottom?
Yeah, she like limbed it up to make it look like stems, like a little small ornamental tree.
I like that because then there's space for other things that you can put in around the base.
Mm-hmm. Because if not, they're just a big old gnarly shrub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about that, you could use it as a center piece.
Yeah.
And then plant like really cool pollinator flowers around it.
That'd be a good idea.
And just make it. Side note, when I stayed at this like ranch, I think it was called the Piscaview Ranch. It's actually currently being turned into a state park in North Carolina right now. And I saw one of the most beautiful islands of giant zinnias that had nonstop butterflies circling around it. So that was so inspirational to me in my gardening journey. And I really hope that they preserve that when they open it as a park. But
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Seems like I love zinnias. Austin, though.
No, not my fave.
No.
man, the ones that came up this year, they're like thick. They're like stacked. You would love it because they're like double and tripled up,
I know. I give them a hard time. If I was going to plant zinnias, it would have to be those big, huge blooming ones. I ain't planting them little tinies.
I ain't doing it.
I ain't doing that.
I plant
Tired of
all
it.
different kinds of zinnias. I love them, and they reseed year after year.
No.
You know what we did talk about on the show that you missed?
What?
A lot about it. Colin asked about it. Rudbeckia.
Ugh. Yuck.
We did. We had some lively discussions about it.
Yuck.
There are some varieties of that you're missing out on as well.
There really is.
As well as the color orange in your life.
Y'all, don't try to sway me.
He
Come
likes
to the
pink,
orange.
and he likes white, and he likes boxwoods.
Yeah.
We have
He's classic granny.
We have a group chat thread, and Caroline posted some flower arrangements from her garden, which were beautiful. 2 different versions. One was orange and yellowish and reddish, and one was pink and pink. And guess which one Austin liked?
Loud pink, baby.
It was a gorgeous little
It was
arrangement.
a pretty little.
Yeah, you got
Well, I
it
saw
growing on over there.
My gladiolas were blooming, and they were like had barely come up this year. And then all of a sudden, in the back of my bed where they are, I saw one that had fallen over.
I'm mad at my gladiolas.
Does yours not bloom
It
this year?
bloomed this year, yeah, for about 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
Yeah, mine are all dried up.
Mine are
Weird
done.
that mine bloomed, and I didn't. I mean, it's not like I just planted them. I don't know what it is. That bed is weird. My whole garden this year has been off,
That has been weird.
and not in a bad way.
No.
My bright eyes phlox, I put that in that flower arrangement. That's kind of blooming again right now. And
Yeah.
looking real healthy.
I could see that. Mm-hmm. Well, has your panicle hydrangea bloomed yet?
Nope, not fully.
Yeah. You've been saying the whole time you think that's quick fire. I don't think it is. I need a picture.
Oh no, I was talking about my limelights.
Oh,
Those
okay.
aren't.
Yeah.
But my other one, yeah, that one's in full bloom now.
Yeah.
I'll take a picture.
Is it quick fire?
I don't know.
No. Send me a pic.
I'll send you a picture.
A lot of people already are talking about cutting back flopping plants,
Good idea to do it. You going to look at the flop or are you going to cut them back? What you going to do? For me, not a chance I could look at that flop.
I could look at the flop.
Negative.
I could
That
definitely look at the
kills
flop.
me.
You can prop the flop.
You can prop the
Prop it
flop.
up.
That's what we need to spread the news on, Tyler.
Prop the
now
flop.
you're on to something.
Yeah.
Tyler's always onto something.
He is the punniest guy I know.
Oh,
I am on to this next episode, which you all will about be hearing yourselves.
About be hearing
About
yourselves.
be hearing.
You ain't going
right
to be hearing
here.
me.
you're not going to
I'm
be hearing
sorry for all of
Austin.
you.
But you do get to hear Ben Trest, who has not been on the show in quite a while. I actually don't know if we've had him on the podcast since we started the podcast. So it'll be a fun listen. But we had Ben Trest sit in for Austin. And of course, Tyler and I were there as well as Josh Carey and David Bates. So here you go.
I suspect that people are questioning things going on in their gardens.
People are. There's a lot going on. A lot of questions about transplanting and planting stuff in the wrong spot. So,
Well, you're an expert on that.
So
yes,
am
I am. You guys all know that I love to move stuff. Austin gives me a hard time, but he's not here today to give me a hard time about it. So
He's on double secret assignment this
he's
week.
he lives in Florida now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. He went there once and said,
Austin,
I gotta stay.
Florida man. Think about it, folks. Okay.
I could see it. I could definitely see it. For sure. All right, so let's just go ahead and get into some questions. Let's talk about veggies for a minute.
That would be
Planting
an herb.
Well, mint could be considered a veggie, I guess.
It's edible.
It's an herb anyway.
Don't ever
vegetative.
plant it in the ground, y'all.
Ever.
Don't do it. Mine got out of a planter, and now I will never get rid of it. But anyways, back to our question. Planting a cool weather veggie bed. When do I start seeds?
I mean, some people are probably going as early as August.
I would think you pretty much
Or have to be August.
Yeah, because you
So
want to try
soon.
hitting that sweet spot. You know, the growers who grow these vegetable plants that are for fall gardening, many of them are in Michigan, where the summer tends to erode away a lot quicker than it does here.
Right.
So perhaps by August, they're already having some cooler temperatures. It frequently doesn't happen here until way into October.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to, the difficulty with starting those is combating these warm temperatures. How are you going to get them germinated without them flopping on you? Because they really want to bend. You've seen a lot. You're an avid gardener.
Well, sure. And I mean, your house may have to be a temporary holding ground for them, and if it's still hot outside.
You may have to have an air conditioning a greenhouse rather than
The basement would work.
Yeah.
but you got to have
Then
light.
you have to have a light.
So you got to, you have to put grow lights down there, and that certainly could be done. That might be the easier way to do it if you're going to try to get those cool season plants germinated. So it's certainly a worthwhile endeavor. The good thing about trying it is that the cost of the seeds and a
Right.
little bit of soil is not very much.
No.
So
Or you could do a double, you could try a first batch and then maybe do some
2
direct
weeks
sow
later.
later or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
There
Space
you
it
go.
out.
Yeah, I'm ready for cool weather gardening.
I had to pull. It's
too hot.
I had to pull my cukes. the other
Mine,
day.
mine
just
aren't
got-
doing good either, Josh.
So I started out. I'm going to start some more from seed in the bed. See what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
I think
I've
I
still
got
got some
time.
seed.
Don't you?
likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I think I need to pull mine and restart. They're
Starting to show the heat stress.
Oh, it
Well,
was
mine was-
awful. I mean,
mine was never good.
well, we got some fruit, and we did okay. I mean, I think I paid for the seeds, so I mean, I think I'm at the break even point on that.
Yeah,
one.
you'll be all right.
So, but they
What's
just
the worst thing that can happen?
they don't cover up. No, I think they will.
You're out a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Well, you already got a few.
Well, we
Cucumbers,
actually
so-
got a pretty good pile, but I mean,
I've only gotten one, and now mine are
and they
dead.
just burn.
Oh, really?
I mean,
We've
they
gotten dozens.
Well, look at
Lucky,
you.
but this is the first year we're going up with them, going up off the ground. I don't know if that's helped at all this season.
Mine were covered in spots. I think mine got some kind of fungal thing that just took
Hey,
over
now,
all
I've got
of
an
them.
interesting, fun gardening fact that
Fun fact here.
our friend of the show, Miriam Mims. Hello, Miriam.
Miriam,
Hi,
good
Miriam.
morning.
Renee and I got to spend time last weekend with she and her beau, Bob. And we were walking through the woods doing a little hike, and she was told me about a few years ago how that they looked up and saw a pumpkin hanging out of a tree
Cool.
about 8 feet off the ground. That
Uh-huh.
This vine had sprouted, gone up the tree,
Oh.
and produced a single pumpkin, and it was hanging from the
Cool.
tree. So I would love to have seen a picture of that. I think that would have been very cool. But
If you don't see a picture, did it really happen?
I don't dispute Miriam.
No.
I think she's.
I believe this. I
she's
don't think Miriam
reliable.
would make that up.
You have to watch for falling pumpkins then, kind of put a
That's
out
kind
below.
of I know where I think I know where you went. So I mean, you might have to watch out for falling rocks if nothing else.
Could be
Yeah,
up
could
in
be.
the Mont Eagle area. So it was a very nice opportunity to get away from the heat for a couple of days. If you
Yes.
haven't been to Mont Eagle, it is an oasis in the summertime in particular. It's just incredible how much, I mean, it's literally 20 degrees cooler than it was.
Did you
here.
scoot over to Grootly Lager while you were out there?
I did not. We did make it down to Cowan.
Oh,
So, you know, so yeah, it was all good. It was a really good trip.
Mont Eagle
Plateau
is
life.
great. I haven't been there in years, probably like 10, 15 years, but it's gorgeous. Time for another trip, but also time for another question.
Okay.
Black spots on my tomatoes as they are almost ripe. Help me.
I think we're talking about the fruit themselves.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
I mean, it's not a bad idea to add some calcium. You know, every time you do tomatoes, that's going to help with a lot of those fungal issues.
Blossom end rot is always can be a problem, and that's usually a sign of calcium deficiency.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's never a bad practice in general when you're planting tomatoes, is to add some additional calcium to the soil. Now, it's a lot of effort is taken to make sure that there's enough calcium in place. Things such as poultry litter and those that are already very high in calcium, so those are good things to add, and are added to many composts.
and I think you might want to pull them just a little earlier. Once they start to
Yeah.
blush, you're going to be okay. I mean,
Yes.
I know they taste better when you leave them on there as long as you possibly
But
can.
they taste bad if they're rotten.
Right.
That's
And
true.
they
They're
get
not going to taste good
squishy,
at all. They're
so-
going to be yuck.
Yeah.
The worst is when you pick a tomato and put your finger through it.
Oh.
because it's got a soft
You got to eat it right away.
It happens. I do that. I actually did
Everybody's
that
like
yesterday
wincing right now.
when I was picking my tomatoes. My tomatoes are doing great this year, though. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers again. Not so much, but let's talk blueberry. My
Okay.
blueberry plant has gotten huge. Is this something we can trim back?
Sure. Yeah, you can trim back blueberries. A lot of times folks will trim back the older canes to try to get some new growth for the next year. But you could easily just leave it alone if you want to get big. But yeah, you can trim them like a hedge. I mean, you can trim them down and
Actually,
shape them nice.
They do make quite a nice
looking
hedge.
bush.
And if you're needing a hedge plant and you've got a sunny area, blueberries are a great consideration for that.
Good
So-
color
yeah.
in the fall.
That's what I was about to say, Josh. Yeah, they're gorgeous. I haven't gotten any fruit on my blueberries this year.
I haven't either. I think it was hot and wet early.
Okay, so
and
that
it
makes me
kinda-
feel better.
But the key with blueberries, as with anything else that's a fruit producer, if you trim it right after it, you have
They're
either
done.
picked the fruit. If you're not going to pick fruit, you can do it right after it flowers. You know, you'll still get some fruit. But to your point, Ben, about trimming off older, tougher canes, you can really get a lot of regenerative growth by just making a hedge out of it, just cutting it back, let all that new growth come back out. And then if you get it done now, which is, I mean, it needs to be done like right away because that new growth has to have time to flush and to mature and harden off so that it can set bud for next year. And a lot of flowers that would be supposed to come out in the spring get delayed or eliminated because of trimming at the too late in the season.
So now's the time to do it.
You ought to get on with it.
Right
Because
after
you got to feed the
harvest.
birds
If-
next
if
year
you have
anyway,
picked-
right?
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yes,
And the
you do.
squirrels.
And all of nature's little
Chipmunks.
critters. Hey, Colin on YouTube says,
Hey,
love
Colin.
the
Hey.
Tyler Cam overlay graphic. Hey, Colin,
You're
I feel like
welcome,
we haven't
Colin.
heard from you in a minute.
Yes. Good to
Missed
hear from you.
Missed you, Colin. And then another comment from Jane Ann Gibbs. My new Bates blueberries from the fall produce some berries. Thank you. So some people out there are getting some. I know, Tyler, you got some, right?
Yes. I had some climax berries, but you know what? They took forever to ripen.
Yep, mine did too.
Yeah, it was so strange. And I kind of cheated this year because here at Bates, we got in some beautiful silver dollar blueberries that were already set fruit and near ripe. So I just enjoyed that harvest as it came in, and I, already planted it, but they were very tart, by the way. I did not think a fruit that big would be that tart still. I thought it would be more mellow.
Do you say
Sometimes
that was
it
the
takes a while.
climax?
That was silver dollar.
Oh, ooh, I haven't heard of that one.
My climax has actually been a poor performer. I don't know if it's just where I planted it. Pink lemonade has been really good though.
My pink lemonade has grown really fast. I think my climax blueberry was one of the ones that got mowed down.
Yeah.
So many things mowed down. We got another live question in
Okay.
from Joan Dotson. Will Mexican petunia be invasive? I've heard that they can be so, I need a definitive answer from the pros. And then she also says, love your show.
Definitive.
Thanks, Joan.
All right, you have to speak with great authority. So
I've heard that they will spread.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, now you're going to what will happen on those. Much like the annual, it's mainly a colorful foliage plant, Secretia, they can survive the winter. But in cold winters, they'll freeze out completely. So it's unlikely they would ever become invasive because there's some winter going to come along that's going to just freeze them out completely. So if you want to err on the side of extra caution,
put them in a pot.
Put them in a pot, or don't put them out at all.
I have heard they reseed, though. I haven't grown them because I've heard that they can take over. But I have had some people say they reseed. Now, maybe they thought they were reseeding and they were just coming back from the ground.
You know what they call Mexican petunias in Mexico?
Petunias.
Petunias.
What do they call
Brilliant.
all the other petunias?
Yeah, petunias.
Petunias.
They're all petunias
Los petunias.
Because they all survived down
Las
there.
petunias.
because they all keep growing and growing and growing.
Yep.
Las?
Las, yes,
Los?
yes.
Las or los?
Las femeninas, petunias.
Sí.
Oh,
Feminine.
wow.
Generally, if it ends in an A, it's a feminine word. So
Okay.
that would be my deduction.
Es verdad.
Little language
No
lesson this morning.
petunias.
Andale.
All right, let's talk
That's
about
an E.
crepe myrtles, y'all.
That's an E.
Should my crepe myrtle be blooming by now? Mine is not.
Mine's
My
not
one
either.
crepe myrtle doesn't have any buds. It is not blooming just yet.
Mine are just opening, or at least in the neighborhood, or just opening.
And you're going to be able to look closely and tell and see the buds that are starting to come up. There's one beside the house next door on the property that got quite a bit of dieback over the winter. It was not deadwooded, but it does have new shoots coming up. It's only just starting to show color, so I would not be alarmed by it. A lot of them are simply a bit delayed just because they got somewhat set back a second year in a row.
Right. Yep. It was a delayed season for sure for
Yep.
crepe myrtle, seems like. Yeah. They had kind of a tough time coming out of the spring, and I think it just pushed everything back a little bit. They're
poor
blooming
little
on the
guys.
lot, but we're usually a couple weeks early with our containerized plants.
I'm
there's
ready
some
for
of
mine
the-
to bloom.
Yeah, and there's some of the last things to come out.
Well,
anyway.
I've got natches at my yard at home. Of course, they've been in bloom for a month. They tend to flower early. They're really a tree. They're not really a bush. They get quite large, 30 feet tall. And so when you're going to plant something like that, you need to give proper space consideration to make sure they've got room to grow out so you don't have to be cutting on them all the time.
It's never a bad time of year to add Earth Mix to your garden. Earth Mix garden products are sustainably sourced, living soils and amendments crafted to give you the best success for your gardening efforts. Establishing a raised bed? Use Garden Premium Topsoil Blend for an excellent performing growing medium for flowers and vegetables. Amend your gardens with their supernatural compost with all the nutrients needed to recharge existing soils. For houseplants, their Proganics Indoor Grow Mix is a fantastic potting medium that will feed for up to 6 months without the need for additional fertilizer. Earth Mix is sold only at independent garden centers, so head over to earthmix.net/find earthmix to locate one near you. Success begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. Do we want to talk about what's in bloom
What's in bloom?
with Ben?
Take it away, Ben.
Hey guys, it's hot, but the blooms are loving it.
Oh,
And honestly, with the little bits of rain we've had, the blooms have been sticking. I've noticed a lot of our spring blooms kind of got washed out with rain, and now we're having a lot of really sturdy blooms in the garden. And to me, the star is like prairie perennials, sun perennials are just going bonkers right now, as well as annuals from seed. So, like, just from my little garden, I mean, I've got zinnias coming up.
Yeah, baby.
Sunflowers
Love 'em.
on the way. Coneflower, no problem. Catmint is kind of going through its second bloom season. So all just tough, really sun, heat tolerant, drought tolerant perennials. we're loaded up with grasses here. I don't know. I think technically you would call it a bloom. It's a seed head.
It's a bloom. Yeah.
But they've been bred
The
to have
floofy stuff.
Yeah, they've had all sorts of color. I mean, this is probably redhead. Is that what this one is?
That one is Cassian.
Cassian. Oh, well,
Yep.
It's got a nice red pink
Then we've got
hue to
Ginger
it.
Love right here.
Ginger Love. That's what I was
Oh, I
thinking.
gave
And
our
you can see
We
those.
will-
Susan plant away. Yeah, we'll come back to that.
We'll
bit.
come back to it in what's in broom here in a little bit.
What you can make a broom out of.
Yes. What's in broom?
Maiden grass. So the grasses are doing great right now. Magnolias are still holding some blooms. I'm even seeing some spring blooming magnolias. Try to throw a few sporadic ones on. Shrubs, hydrangeas, still going strong. Your panicle hydrangeas, I mean, just
Love it.
not even starting to hardly turn pink yet. They're still full white. They should be fully open, your hydrangeas right now. Vitex, one of our
Mine's in full bloom.
kind of
Gorgeous.
underutilized, almost like a giant butterfly bush, really. is what
Yes,
it looks
that's
like.
what I always say.
It's a bit more fragrant. It's
Yeah.
really nice.
And then our late season ones are starting. I mean, like Abelia. I really like Abelia. They're just starting to kind of put on buds
now,
for their fall.
Abelia.
Be
Later.
later.
Good one. Is that it?
I mean, there's probably
There's
some more. We
so
could go through
much.
all of the sun perennials. Leatris.
Oh yeah, mine looks great right now.
Yep.
And that makes a great dried flower too. If you're into dried flowers, that one mixed with eucalyptus. I don't even put mine in water. I just stick them in a vase with no water. They dry and then they look like they're still fresh.
I
Very
think
cool.
Lee
Yeah.
Atris was a
Gorgeous.
former neighbor of mine.
Lee
Atris.
Atris.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Atris's
Oh.
boy, yeah.
Be a good name right there. Too bad Austin wasn't here. You know what he doesn't like? Rudbeckia,
Rudbeckia.
which we got a question from Colin on YouTube. Colin says,
Great
since
timing.
Austin isn't here, I saw some Rudbeckia that was stunning, and that is in all caps. Truly, how bad will it spread? I want to put some in my cottage garden, which is wildy, but I don't want it to choke out other plants. I love it. Mine stays fairly contained. It does spread. It reseeds, but they're really, really easy to pull up. I know Austin's biggest thing is he had to pull it up as a child, so he's
boy.
traumatized.
Yeah.
But mine grows really thick. I have to pull
That
some
does
up so it
explain a lot,
doesn't.
by the way.
It does, yeah. That's why he hates it.
I don't like it.
I pull it up if it starts to spread into some of my other plants. I'll pull it up early in the season, but it's really easy to control and it's great. Like it competes with grass. It pretty much beats it every so often. I've got like one piece of grass that comes up, but mine is so dense at this point, and I'll get a picture maybe next week because it's
Very
about to
good.
be in full bloom. That Colin, plant it. Don't listen to Austin.
I've got some experience with Rudbeckia as well, and there's one that's called Autumn Fire that I planted, and I surely thought that my raspberries were going to choke it out because I planted those in the same raised bed as my raspberries. Well, it survived. It somehow reseeded itself outside of the planter, so now it just basically like unplanted itself from that position, and it's continuing to thrive. Now that variety is not, I would say, like your typical looking black-eyed Susan. So it's a little bit less aggressive and also has a different color and a bigger bloom. And there's so many different varieties in that type of plant, that species of plant, that you can really find something that is not as aggressive as just the straight up kind, which my neighbor planted. And it is everywhere in my yard, and I just kind of let it come up in places. And
That's what I've got. Mine is the straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great. Again,
Yeah.
it's easy to pull up if you don't want it to spread.
But you'll be mowing it with the rest
Just
of
do
your
it.
yard,
Which
if
is
you-
fine. Then
Yeah.
you'll never know it was there. Hey, we got another live question in from Pat on Facebook. My ornamental plum is oozing sap. Ooh. It looks terrible, as does the other
no.
ones up and down my street. Someone suggested this might be black knot.
Rot.
I think it was supposed to be rot, but it says not, so I'm reading it as it is
There
written.
is a black knot
Can you
fungus,
please
yeah.
tell me how to treat this? So it is black knot.
Yeah, black knot, usually you're going to see that on the stems. And I mean, I guess they could be like conflated with each other. But the black knot, usually we're going to actually see knots on the stems. And I guess you could see it on the trunk, but this seems to be kind of typical with all of our prunus species with heat.
And they are notoriously short life trees. And when you begin seeing this, it is the early indications that the end is near. And that doesn't mean this year or even next year, but it will get worse.
Right.
and you can. So ultimately the treatment becomes a chainsaw, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard the sap related to basically, like a scab on your body. It's the tree trying. It's the white blood cells of the tree trying to kind of heal over a wound.
And it's a wound that really won't heal.
Right.
And if you've seen people who have circulatory problems, that's essentially what it is. And they just are unable to repair their own damage, and there are weaknesses in the species. And you either accept that on the front end and know you're going to be replacing it in a few years, or you choose something else.
Yeah. I would
Sounds
check
like a lot of them.
Yeah, I would check mulch levels around. I mean, just if you have other issues, rot or
trimmers.
something, damage at the base. So make sure you don't have other stuff going on like excessive
String
mulch or
trimmers
string trimmer damage.
It's awful.
Yeah.
I know all about that. And you do too.
Oh, I've done it.
Your form of boxwood at my house got string trimmed down.
Oh, I've had to hang my head.
Samara Dixon on YouTube commented, I love Rudbeckia. They haven't really spread for me, but I wouldn't be mad about it. They are so dependable for blooming and color.
They're
So true.
They're basically bulletproof.
They're
too.
bulletproof.
Yeah.
They're great.
But who would shoot at them
I
anyway?
love it.
I don't know, but I mean,
Yeah, who would?
That'd be kind of
Austin.
fun.
Austin would shoot at him. He absolutely would.
birdshot. Okay.
He's not here to talk about why he hates it, and that's okay. Hey, let's move on to talking about hydrangeas. We got quite a few hydrangea questions in today. First up is pruning tips for a young hydrangea, leafy but no blooms.
Leafy but no blooms. I wouldn't put on any extra nitrogen because you're just going to push foliar growth. Leafy but no blooms. I guess it depends on which variety of hydrangea. My guess would be is it's a macrophylla, some sort of a
And they're
big
wondering
leaf.
specifically on pruning tips for that.
Okay, yeah. So if it's a macrophylla, big leaf hydrangea, sometimes we just have bud break in the spring, and if your buds freeze in the spring, you're just kind of out of luck for the season for a lot of these that bloom on old growth only. So really with that, I would tend to leave it. Because if you're doing pruning, there's a risk that it won't set those buds on in time for spring. So if it's a big leaf hydrangea with the blues or the reds or the purple blooms, I would leave it be for at least another year and let it at least try to get some blooms on it before you do any trimming.
High phosphate fertilizer. That's the
Yeah.
middle number is big, and as Ben was advising, don't put anything that's got an excessive amount of nitrogen.
The first
especially things that are high in ammoniacal nitrogen, which is ammonium nitrate. That
Yeah,
means
boy.
it's going to flash quick, and that, as Ben was also saying, induces that vegetative growth, which you don't want. You're wanting it to
want the
grow more.
blooms.
You want it to grow more slowly, not to push more growth.
How about best time to transplant a hydrangea?
Not now.
Nope.
Ideally, when the weather starts, nighttime temperatures start getting below 70 degrees would be great. So a
about
wait
couple
for the
months.
fall.
September.
And then how about this? I planted a hydrangea in too much sunlight. Suggestions for creating shade until I transplant it this fall.
Don't let Mrs. Carey come over because she won't let you put shade out there because it's going to be ugly and it's going to be right on the front of the
Oh,
house.
no.
That's another
Don't
battle.
Ask Diana about it, okay?
Josh,
Trust
I
me.
think your hydrangea will be okay, though. It might
I think
suffer a
so.
little bit, but it'll be fine.
It may look rough for a while, but
Right.
it will survive.
Yeah,
She
that's
won't.
like my hosta that I put accidentally in hot afternoon sun.
Yeah, I
and they
called her
looked
out.
terrible, but I transplanted them in the fall, and now they're huge, and I have to divide them because they've gotten so big.
And keep the water on them. I mean, if they go dry and they're not liking the sun, it's just going to be double trouble. So make
Double
sure to
trouble.
still keep them watered even though they look like they're suffering.
We are seeing little babies, new leaves, and some new growth
Oh,
on it. So
look at
that's
that.
But she still wouldn't let me put the sunshade over.
No sunshade. So is that what
Just
you would
park your car in
suggest?
front of it.
This person asking how to create shade while they wait for the fall. I mean, we've got sunshade that you can put up. You'll have to
You
hang
can
it
even
on
get an
something.
umbrella over it if you have a
You could
patio
stand
umbrella.
there, hottest time of the day, just hold that umbrella over
I
your
would be
plants.
inclined to just not worry about it.
And just,
Yeah.
It's not going to kill it. It may make it look really, really rough,
Yeah.
but it won't kill it.
All right. Yep, that's what I was saying. And final hydrangea question so far this morning. General tips for hydrangea care.
See, that's a loaded question.
It is
right
very
there.
loaded.
The biggest thing I've been getting lately is black spots on the leaves, which they have big old leaves. They like to hold those water drops on the leaves. So keep that water off the leaves whenever we're irrigating. We don't have rain. Keep the water off the leaves of the hydrangea. Especially if you're watering late in the day at night. Try to do it early in the day, but if that water sits on those leaves, it'll just eat them up.
And that's more specific to the macrophylla cultivars, the garden hydrangeas, than the Annabelle or oak leaves. Those that are much more sun tolerant. It's less of an issue on those. They don't have those big juicy leaves. They're tougher because they are out in the sun.
And it lets it dry off. About the only time I've seen them on like an oak leaf is if they were getting watered like as the sun was going down.
And a lot of times that happens when people have irrigation systems and they're convinced that they've got the irrigation system and we're going to use it. And I like to watch it run in the late afternoon going into night, which is bad timing.
No
I've
good.
hidden all the spray nozzles, and I've changed them out to all the wands.
Oh, yeah.
So you can put your water.
That way you can stand up straight and get to the bottom of the plant still.
That was a secondary reason, but that works good too.
Well, if you're wondering about specific hydrangeas or just learning about them, we have Bates Nursery has multiple Bates Botanical Boot Camp webinars on hydrangeas. I think we have Hydrangeas 101. Austin does pruning all different types of hydrangeas. I mean, it can be tricky because it depends on the variety where you're going to put it, but I would say they're pretty easy if you pick the right spot. So if you know enough about the hydrangea that you are buying, put it in the right spot, water it correctly. They're pretty easy plants, which I have to transplant some this fall, and so does Josh, but that's okay.
Some say there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. But we say Bates Nursery is. Located in Nashville, Tennessee, Bates Nursery and Garden Center is a separate world unto itself. They feature the widest variety of plants, including trees, shrubs, native plants, perennials, houseplants, and specimen evergreens. Their knowledgeable staff will assist you with any gardening needs, catering to any experience level. Open year-round, and Caroline, tell them how to get here.
Bates Nursery is located minutes from downtown Nashville off Briley Parkway, exit 19 in beautiful Whites Creek, Tennessee. You'll see it's worth the drive from anywhere. No time to visit the nursery? Shop online with delivery and pickup options available for the greater Middle Tennessee area at www.batesnursery.com.
So if you want to learn a lot about living and a little about love, visit Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
So I've got an anecdote about switchgrass.
Do you? Let's go.
I dug some up this spring at my wife's school. Bunch of switchgrass, overgrown. They're afraid they're going to lose their children in the playground. And instead of dumping it, I just threw it on the ground out in the yard. And those are 3 foot tall, unplanted switchgrass. So they are tough as nails, which may be a benefit or a concern.
You literally did not dig a hole.
I did not dig a hole. There's root balls on the soil, and those things are 3
so now
foot
you
tall.
have a natural mound that has been created. So you, at most, you might throw some dirt in between, or to
Maybe
fill
I'm holding
in.
off it. I mean, they haven't shown.
I thought maybe you might want to plant something in between it later on or whatever. But
he got those for free. Keep that in mind, folks.
He did.
I'm not saying for you to do it, but it just shows how drought tolerant and rugged and the root system.
And this
they'll
is
just
what
grow
time,
anywhere.
This was what time when you did this? Was
In the spring.
In the spring. So March or April?
This was probably April.
Yeah.
They were just starting to push.
So you got it done when there was still enough rain happening naturally. So your timing could be off and your results might vary.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But those roots, I think they will search through to get to
will
the soil
find
fast.
the
They
soil,
are
find the water.
determined. They are quite determined.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. You gave me some of that, and mine is doing great. I actually split it into, I think I've got 8 grasses that I've planted
Yeah.
everywhere.
Pretty
So-
trouble-free.
So far.
So far.
Yes, so far. We did get a question about transplanting grasses, which is great to bring up now. Transplanting big blue stem that has been in the ground for 5 years, is this doable?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, really, I mean, ideally you wouldn't do it right now. Out of all the plants you could transplant right now, grasses would probably take it in the heat if you just water it when you transplant it. But the root system on grasses can be pretty good, so getting it out is probably going to be the hard part.
Yeah.
The transplanting in this time of year is so critical about timing, and and I frequently mention, and we have over the years talked about this many times.
Yes.
Josh, is go dig the hole first where you're transplanting to, and what that does is that reduces significantly the amount of time you're going to have this root ball
Out of the
ground, because you're going to want to dig that hole, do whatever soil preparation you're going to do, dig the plant up, move it straight over, backfill it, and water it. I mean, drown it immediately.
Yep.
Now, if you do those things and do it in successive order and do it without stopping to take a iced tea break,
Or talk to the neighbor.
or talk to the,
That's so tempting, though.
Yes.
it is tempting.
And it's not the same as a container grown plant.
No,
So
because
be
the root
very, very-
systems
don't confuse yourself.
Yeah, the root systems don't get cut or even
Right.
mildly disturbed on a container. But when you're digging it out of the ground, you can have success.
Yes.
But when you're cutting those roots, it's very much a timing issue, and particularly if you're planting from a sun area to a sun area where it's just, it's rough. You might even consider trying to shift it off to either to the early morning activity or the late afternoon, where you don't have the middle of the day 100-degree heat blazing down.
Water the hole, too. I mean,
that does not hurt either.
You may have to water before you start digging if the ground is too dry.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do everything you can
Yeah.
to stack the deck in your favor and hope it's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get a few more questions in. Planted 2 clethra on Sunday. They are in 4 to 6 hours of sun, watered every day in the morning. Now they are brown and crispy. This sounds like the New Jersey tea plant you gave me for my birthday, Ben.
Yeah,
That
I mean-
one stem at a time, it started going brown and crispy. It's still alive. It still has some green.
I think some things were planted right as soon as our heat went. Oop,
Yeah.
and it is hard to know how much to water, and I feel like sometimes we're just not saturating. If you have that soil starting to get little cracks in it, it takes a lot.
It's easy for people to they think, I've watered it every day. I'm watering it first thing in the morning every day. But the diagnosis and the understanding of what watering actually is very tough. And I'm not saying that this is what has happened, but I'm saying this is what I've seen happen. Many occasions is people will, first of all, if you've got one of those pistol grip nozzles on the end of your garden hose,
Throw it away.
Throw it away. It's for washing the car.
Yep.
Don't water shrubs with it.
Nope.
One of those rain shower nozzles is perfectly okay, or this little thing right here on the end works really well.
Or this.
You've got to. Thumb's not as good.
Thumb's not as good?
No, I like the forefinger. Anyway,
I do a thumb. I'm with you, Josh.
Okay.
and those are totally preferential things, where you have better control. But the thing of it is you want to get enough water on there so that you soak it all the way through to the lowest roots. And if you do that, it cannot possibly need watering every day. And that's when I hear people talk about watering every day and something's gotten dry. What I visually imagine is that they're wetting this much of the ground down every day, and it's drying out. So they believe that they're watering it a lot.
Right.
They're watering it frequently, but they're not watering it sufficiently.
Sure.
Ben was on the show once before, and he had explained the water at the hydrostatic pressure, the way that you were explaining it with the sponge. If you have that really hard pan clay soil, like everyone in
If your bed's just dry.
if it's just dry,
It's
you
gonna
might
repel
want
it.
to you might want to give it a sprinkle first, and then let it soak in. That
It'll
way.
suck that water away from the plant a little quicker.
And again, doing proper soil preparation in advance of planting goes a long way towards helping your plants to be able to make that transition from the container root ball that they're in when you purchase them through that growing media into the native soil that's around them. So that's always the thing that I think that it's the most difficult to articulate and help people to understand it. Watering should be one of those almost a meditative type things. You cannot water quickly. You must do it slowly and methodically, and it must be multiple times back over. If you have a row of say 5 plants, you water each one of them until it begins to run off and move to the next, and then you repeat.
Yep.
And then you do that multiple times.
Yeah.
So there's that. God, where'd that hour go?
I don't
It
know.
went fast.
My goodness
It
gracious.
was gone.
Well,
So, but hey, you know what? Next Saturday, we're going to come back and do another hour.
That's right.
And you can watch all of these hours anytime you want to on YouTube.
We got a bunch of hours out there.
There's a bunch of hours out there, and you just interact. Hey, if you're on social media, any of the platforms, like, share, tell everybody about us, because we'll interact with you alive here on the Gardening Inside Out show. You can reach us during the week to send pictures in at gardeninginsideout@gmail.com. That really helps us out with diagnosis sometime. Hey, it's going to be a glorious day to get inside or outside and garden. So come back next Saturday, and we'll give you some more fun, frivolity, information.
Yeah, all that
stuff. See you next Saturday.
Thank you for tuning into the Gardening Inside Out podcast. If you're looking for more information or more from your hosts, don't forget that we have a live Saturday morning broadcast, 8 a.m. Central Time, on YouTube and Facebook. You can also follow us on our Instagram channel. That's @Gardening Inside Out for more posts, reels, and in-depth dives to topics and things we've discussed on the show. If our content resonates with you, consider giving us a follow, like, and subscription on all of our social media pages. See you next time.